A to the K.
A to the K.
A to the K.
Coming up tonight in the Ringside Report. Kurt Angle headed back to WWE.
Morale is said to be very low backstage after the Royal Rumble.
Bret Hart is set to star in a crowd-funded crime drama movie.
Ric Flair separates from his fifth wife, Wendy Barlow.
Riddle supposedly planned to win the Royal Rumble match.
Matt Hardy confirms Jeff was offered a Hall of Fame induction.
Nia Jax reportedly turned down a Royal Rumble appearance.
X-Pac is set to make his in-ring return.
And breaking news, Shane McMahon reportedly quietly released by WWE after the backstage heat from the Royal Rumble. And Anthony, when's all that coming up?
It's all coming up, Carl. Right fucking now.
Yes, it is. So let's kick off with our top of the news this week. Kurt Angle has confirmed he is set to return to WWE TV. You may know.
Don't do it, Kurt. No, I'm kidding.
And I know obviously all you guys are, sole watchers and listeners of our show. But Kurt Angle has actually got his own podcast. And he's basically revealed on there that he is, in fact, going to be coming back to WWE in the build-up to WrestleMania 38. He was also previously at the Royal Rumble this past weekend. And he was obviously spotted with Shelton Benjamin. And a lot of people actually thought that he might rock up in the Rumble itself. However, that wasn't, in fact, the case.
He teased a little bit, didn't he?
He did a bit. But he's quoted as saying that he did receive a call from WWE and they want him to be involved in the show for the next month or so. He's really excited about it, so we'll see what's in store for him. So, obviously, I would love it if he got a proper retirement match that wasn't against Baron Corbin. There's no offense to Baron Corbin at all, but I think there could be something better there for Kurt. He's an absolute legend.
Yeah, it just wasn't the farewell tour we wanted for him, really.
No, and I think unfortunately it didn't go on to elevate Corbin as it should have done. Obviously, he's now Happy Corbin. It's like
because it was random. It just wasn't really booked.
Yeah,
and that's the shame of it. If you book him in a story that elevates somebody, it'll be different.
Well, exactly. I think we can both agree that we would love to see the Olympic hero Kurt Angle back in the WWE. I can't wait to see when or where or if he rocks up on this road to WrestleMania and what involvement he's going to have in the grandest show of them all. So, exciting times ahead.
Indeed. Couldn't agree more. So the next one, Carl. The morale is said to be very low backstage after the Royal Rumble, which probably ties into the breaking news we'll talk about a bit later. So low that some things may have happened. But why was the morale so low after such a wonderful Rumble, you might ask yourself, Carl? Well, one WWE talent has spoken to PW Insider. So I have the sort of the quote here, which says that we were all in a whirlwind. Just as you had your roll and spots down, everything started over, and now most of us were back to square one. It changed again and again and again. It wasn't an easy night, even before we hit the ring. So obviously, this is alluding to the fact that there seemed to be constant changes to the event and to decisions being made in there. This was applicable to both the men's Rumble and the women's Rumble, but it was noted that the men's Rumble match had literally 20 changes made. One of them, in fact, we reference again later on in the news. But it just seems like, from a backstage production or booking point of view, it was just a bit of chaos, and it just hasn't helped the the stars, the talent, should I say, and obviously the morale after the fact as well, which is it's not great news, but honestly, and we're going to talk about the Rumble later on, but you kind of get that vibe when you watch it. It makes a lot of sense.
I mean, it must be, notoriously a really difficult match to be a part of. Now, I know a lot of people do like to call stuff on the fly as it is, but I can't imagine, especially, with all the changes leading up to it, that there's, a match where you would call it on the fly as much as what probably happened at the Royal Rumble. Obviously, we know, for example, Kofi Kingston was meant to have a number of spots with Big E in the match, where unfortunately, mistakes were made and he ended up being eliminated.
we can talk about that some more. But I was actually quite pleased that he didn't try and blag that and he just acknowledged that he hit the floor. To be honest, I know it's shit for Kofi, but I'm glad they acknowledged it and just called it on the fly.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, you can only feel for the talent. Obviously, they're being told one thing, and then literally minutes before they're set to go out, it's all getting changed and ripped up, and the entry numbers are changed, and like all the spots you've worked out may no longer be relevant or applicable. So yeah, it sounds like a really stressful time for all involved, with a large number of changes happening. Kind of almost throughout the show, and we know historically, especially of late, WWE from a booking standpoint has been rumored to be like that. Stories of Vince McMahon tearing up the script, for Raw, like literally hours before, and rewriting the whole show. So imagine it for something like a Royal Rumble. Like, you can only imagine how difficult that is for everybody. So yeah, easy to understand why the morale is low, and why subsequently some of the other news we're going to be talking about happened.
Indeed.
So, the next one to talk about, the one and only legendary Bret the Hitman Hart is coming back to your screens as part of a crowd-funded crime drama movie. That's right. It was announced
exactly
today.
If you just said, what's Bret Hart coming back to TV for, that's exactly what I would have guessed.
Well, exactly. So yeah, no, a bit of a surprise. It's announced that he's now going to be starring in a feature film called The Outlaw Murders. And it's a movie which is being crowdfunded. He's set to play an experienced police detective, Inspector Carlisle, with a checkered past, Anthony. So, obviously,
betrayed by his best friend in a match back in. That's good.
Yeah. So I think, obviously, in terms of the storyline for the movie, basically Bret's character has been tasked with conducting an investigation of a mass murder, which involved a biker gang that he was once a part of. Oh, the emotional turmoil.
I'm kind of hooked already.
So, employing an improvisational technique, the mystery behind the murders will unfold throughout the picture as a unique cast of characters share their personal versions of the events under the pressure of a police interrogation. It's going to cut back and forth between depictions of the present day as the investigation's going on, and the past events surrounding the murders and the backstory behind each of the characters. So yeah,
it sounds like a very serious thing, but I really hope at some point somebody asks about Bret's character and somebody goes, "Oh, he's the best there is." just for a little nod. Just for a little nod.
I would absolutely love that. But yeah, I believe Bret has been in a couple of different movies, kind of low budget type things, horrors and the like.
Not to digress, but did you know that Rowdy Roddy Piper was in like a rip-off of Harry Potter?
No.
I'm
Really?
proud of you. He was in like a low budget Harry Potter film. Like, it was just blatantly Harry Potter. It's like Billy and the Magic Store or some shit. Like, I can't remember what it's called now.
Okay,
I'll have to actually find out what it was called. But yeah, he was in this really like blatant rip-off of Harry Potter, which is just amazingly cringe, but fantastic. You got to watch it just for Roddy. I'll find it for you and send it to you.
Oh, please do.
Not you guys watching. You guys can all start off.
Just me. But yeah, definitely. Piper was obviously a legend in They Live, wasn't he? So love to see him in any other kind of acting things he's been in for.
Only thing that made that movie, to be honest, because he puts his energy into it, even though it's like, it's shit. It's a shit film, but. Yeah, sorry, slight digression. I love seeing wrestlers in films. It amuses me.
Yeah, defo. So yeah, I am keen to see Bret the Hitman Hart playing this detective, Inspector Carlisle, in the upcoming movie The Outlaw Murders. So yeah, make sure you watch out for that. I don't think there's any release date at the moment. I could be wrong. It's basically just been, it's currently being crowdfunded. On Indiegogo, so the crowdfunding. If you want to contribute, guys. There you go. So it's currently taking place from the 1st of February to the 2nd of April. It's got a goal of $102,000 as of this writing. So obviously we're only a day into this. It's only got 5 backers for it's £87 so far of a £75,000 budget. So lots of work to be done. Lots of work to be done. I think it's just translated it because I've gone on it while I'm here.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
But yeah,
so I think dense of me.
So I think it's $102,000, £75,000. So yeah, make sure you get on
a
there.
little bit away from the goal at the moment.
Just a little bit, but obviously we're only in day one. It doesn't end until April, so plenty of time. So get over there if you want to see Bret Hart. Exactly, you want to see Bret Hart and the Outlaw Murders. Get over there, crowdfund it. And
sounds like a band actually when you say that.
Obviously, with all crowdfunding as well, there's special perks and things like that to unlock. So things from video games, you can get a copy of the soundtrack, exclusive updates and images. You can even get a special thanks credit in the movie. And if you want to spend $1,000 on this, you can get an executive producer credit.
What's that, like £20?
Funny guy. It's actually £582.
Sorry.
Terrible person.
Sorry.
So yeah, so definitely go and check it out. You can see it on Indiegogo. We'll put a link in the description. But Bret Hart potentially coming to your screen soon if we can crowdfund it so that he will. So make sure you
can do this, Bret.
We can do it.
So calm. I need to follow this up with a little bit of sad news. And that is, it comes from a tweet sent out by Ric Flair quite recently. He may be in his 70s, but he knows how to use Twitter, which is nice. So he's put out, unfortunately, saying, after taking some time apart, Wendy, his then partner, and I have decided to go our separate ways. He said, please respect our privacy and our families during this time. I will love and cherish all of our memories together forever, and I'll forever be thankful for all she has done to make my life better. So, unfortunately, I mean, that's it. That's all we need to know in terms of the tweet and the news. But unfortunately, they have now split up. I think he'd been with Wendy for she may be his fifth wife, but he'd been with her for a fair amount of time, and they seemed like even just months ago they seemed really sort of happy together. So it is a real shame, and not to be speculative, but it seems. I mean, is this in any way to do with the controversy around the whole Dark Side of the Ring and the Plane Ride from Hell backlash? We'll never know, but a shame.
I mean, I imagine anyone who gets into a relationship with Ric Flair must know he's got a certain level of a past to him, so you would like to think that that's not the case. But yeah, no, it is.
He's single again, so do you think we'll see him wooing someone else anytime soon?
Wife number 6 could be you. If you crowdfund it now on Indiegogo. For a $100 donation, he will flash you his penis. I kid. But no, obviously,
you pick the winner. You just have the windmill and penis. Where's it gonna land?
But no, obviously, it's a very unfortunate news story. Obviously, Wendy is as you said, they've been really close for a long time, and obviously she's been by his side through some of his most kind of serious health battles of late and things as well. Obviously being there when he kind of was in his coma and things like that. So, massive shame, but obviously they both seem to be very kind of, amicable with each other, and it doesn't seem like there's too much bad blood there or anything like that. They've just decided to go their separate ways. So hopefully, wish them the best of luck in terms of what's next for the pair of them. But yeah, sad.
You're going to go future endeavours on them then?
No, not quite. However, if you get a trash bag with half of your possessions showing up at your house, yeah.
It's the WWE way, you won't be shocked.
Exactly. But no, shame, unfortunate news, but yeah, I wish them both the best for the future. So the next one's a bit of an interesting one. And it's now been debunked, which is hilarious. So I'm going to tell you about something which was reported as news and is now not news. So the original piece of news was that Riddle was supposedly meant to be winning the Royal Rumble. So the original news article stated that, as we know, as we covered it before, the Royal Rumble match went through a significant amount of changes during the kind of putting the match together. And obviously that led to quite a bit of heat on Shane McMahon. But according to PW Insider, Riddle was slated to be the original winner of the Royal Rumble match, which obviously, spoilers, didn't happen. So the quote was, "The original plan for the men's Rumble winner was Riddle. PWInsider.com has learned plans were changed over the course of the week a ton of times, with the final decision to have, spoiler, Brock Lesnar enter and win as a surprise. At one point, there was a pitch for Randy Orton to win as well, but Riddle was the front runner until the switch to Brock was made. Now, it appears this has since been debunked. So the update is from Ringside News, says they can confirm that Matt Riddle was never slated to win the Royal Rumble match. And here's a link to our exclusive report. Yeah, basically, it goes on. I fucking hate that. It's like, we're the first to break the news. Like, who cares? But yeah, essentially, Ringside News are now the exclusive reporters that was never the case, and Brock was always slated to win it since the dawn of time, apparently. So, okay, fuck you, PW Insider. Apparently, Ringside News are the best, and they know everything at the end. But yeah, you know, while we're talking about it though, it's not part of this news, but I guess it links in. I know that. Obviously, we've speculated on Riddle and Randy Orton potentially splitting up for a while now. I did see a piece of news this week around there's only a couple of people on the creative team that actually are still pushing for this. So a lot of them want to remain together. So I think the people who are pushing for it, though, would ideally want it to happen with the WWE title on the line at WrestleMania. So I'm not sure how they could get there in time for that. But interesting.
It's a shame, you know, because they would benefit more having the title on the line than Brock would. And Brock could have his match without the title at all. It's a real shame. Oh well.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, it's a time when WWE needs to build new stars, and you know, Riddle is a bona fide star, isn't he, at the end of the day? So he could absolutely be the world champion if they give him the kind of push to do that. But yeah, who knows? Will they break them up? As is tradition, will they keep them together? You know, if they do break them up, will it be for the title, not for the title? All remains to be seen. But apparently, he was never set to win the Royal Rumble, and PW Insider are a bunch of liars, according to the Ringside. Not the Ringside, just Ringside News.
This is news in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. The breaking news, a part of the breaking news, is that the news is no longer news because it was never news.
Nothing news.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. That's that one.
Okay then. Right, so Carl, next one. Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy has recently been speaking on, what's he called it? He has a name for it. His Twitch channel. Let me find what it's called. Mattitude Monday stream on his Twitch channel. And he's talking about his now infamous brother, Jeffrey. Right? So they were talking about, I don't know, obviously we've not really heard anything from Jeff. And Matt didn't really want to say a lot either, but he did give us a little bit of an insight as to sort of what went on a little bit with the whole WWE situation. And he was saying about basically that WWE decided that his behaviour was erratic. I think referring to him jumping over the guardrail. So that was why they instigated and asked for the drug test. Now, what he said was typically drug tests take about 10 to 14 days. You get a sheet that says you're compliant and you're negative on everything, etc. And the 10 to 14 days were up. They had been up for Jeff for the test, but he'd never got a result, which was curious. And Jeff said to Matt at the time, like, he knew he passed his drugs test because he hadn't been doing drugs. So it was a curious one, and it took over 3 weeks for the test to actually come back. But that is ultimately what led to his release. It wasn't like a defiance like people think it was, like he's not doing a drugs test and he's walked out and so on like that. It's basically like he said, WWE is a very stressful job. He's not trying to speak ill of WWE, but he knows what it's like in WWE. He's very grateful for the opportunities both him and Jeff have had there, but it's a very stressful environment to be in. And basically that sort of pressure and the test not coming back and all those sort of things were contributing factors to, like, well, you know, it's done. And apparently to the point that Jeff even said to Matt that, you know, he was done. Like, the minute he went over the guardrail, he sort of knew he was done, sort of thing. And yeah, obviously we've had all this speculation after the fact, and a lot of people even speculated, you know, did he do it intentionally to try and get fired? But again, Matt he's not said definitely, but he said that he doesn't think that was his intention. He just thinks that, you know, that's just kind of his brother and his brother's nature. You know, he's that kind of guy. So he doesn't think it was an intentional move to get fired. But obviously, everything's happened the way it sort of happened, and it's a strange situation to be in. But basically, they give him an ultimatum. over the drugs test, and ultimately it was like, do you want to release him, then release me then, and that was that. So it's slightly interesting insight into what's gone on, because obviously a lot of people have suggested that this was all Jeff, but it seems like WWE were almost quite nervous about Jeff, which is, he's had his demons in the past and you can kind of understand, but I suppose when he's there, like, I'm not and everything's fine, it must be kind of annoying that they're like, well, nah, we don't believe you, basically.
Yeah, I mean, if this is all true and verbatim, and the drug tested him and it's come back negative, then I'm absolutely made up for Jeff. Hopefully he's vindicated from all this. I think as soon as the report came out and the video surfaced of him kind of leaving the match and stuff, everybody jumped on his case. Oh, he's back on drugs, he's back on this, he's back on that. What a fuck up. He's failed. Like, if legitimately he just decided, what, I'm fucking done with this match, I'm going out through the crowd or whatever, like the mad bastard he is, and it wasn't to do with drugs and things like that, then, fair play. And, I hope that he is vindicated from this, because it was horrible at the time. Everybody just kind of just counting him out and just being like, oh, he's, once a fuck up, always a fuck up. And that's why they've released him. So if it wasn't, because I think we mentioned, like, oh, he's going to go to AEW and stuff like that. And everyone was like, oh, there's no chance he's going to AEW. They better not hire him. He just needs rehab. And it's like, so uninformed. Do you know what I mean? So if it turns out to be that it was nothing to do with that, and, it turns out he's not kind of fallen off the wagon.
It seems, so basically, because of the sort of speculation and the backlash from the internet, it seems WWE got to a point that they didn't give a shit about the results and the fact they went back. The ultimatum they were giving him would basically go to rehab or be released, which is why he got to the point of being released, because it was like, in his head, why do I need to go to the rehab?
Yeah.
Like, he's clean, do you know what I mean?
Which seems bizarre. Surely if he'd done the drug test and it came back and he'd failed it, then you would say, well, you need to go to rehab otherwise.
Yeah,
but
I know you'd have a ton more cause to say it, but yeah,
yeah.
Apparently they were calling for rehab even before he got the results back. That's how sort of, I guess, convinced they were. But, he said, he goes on to sort of mention, just for the full info of the headline, that they didn't get the test back until 3 weeks after, and apparently they needed help from a lawyer to do so. But after the fact, John Laurinaitis reached out to Jeff for a potential Hall of Fame induction. So it seems like, I don't know, because he doesn't really go into a lot of sort of info on that conversation, but it would suggest that WWE aren't squeamish about him now. So it just seems like almost a bit of nervousness on WWE's part in that sense, really, because they're more than happy to have an induction. There was speculation of potentially an appearance at the Rumble, that sort of thing. At this stage, I don't think Jeff's that interested, but apparently they're more than happy to engage with him now, which is it just feels really strange from WWE's part to be like, oh, no, we're not taking the risk, especially some of the risks they've taken in the past.
Well, yeah, like I say, hopefully Jeff's just doing good, and it was never any cause for concern in the first place, and hopefully he's sound and he's still in a good state of mind and healthy. That's all you can ask for. So, the next one I want to talk about, Nia Jax. So obviously, as we know, the Women's Royal Rumble, they called back to several former stars, and also some surprises. They reached out to Mickie James, who is the current Knockouts champion, who made an appearance. They also reached out to the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, The Inspiration, former Iconics, who actually rejected the opportunity to show up at the Rumble. But another former talent who was reportedly asked back was Nia Jax herself. So she was on Renee Paquette's Oral Sessions show, and she revealed that WWE actually reached out and asked her to be part of the Rumble, and her answer was a resounding no. She's quoted as saying, "I was in the middle of trying to get my stuff back. I had a bunch of crap. You know how it is. They're just shoving stuff in everybody's boxes or whatever. I'm in the middle of getting my stuff back."
I thought you take note of that. Boxes to use now.
Yeah, trash bags, no, just boxes now. That's much more classy. But they sent me my stuff, and more than half of it was missing. I was like, what's going on? So then when I got the call, I thought it was about where's my stuff. So she answered it and was like, hey, what's up? She said it was her homie in TR. They were like, hey, Severina, which is her real name, we're just calling to see if you'd be interested in participating in the Royal Rumble. And she started hysterically laughing because she said, I thought it was my friend joking with me. I was like, oh, you're friggin' hilarious. And then he was like, actually, no, this is an official call. And she was like, oh, fuck no, I'm not coming back. And he was like, oh, we'd like to offer you this. I was like, first of all, I already know I'm still under my 90 days. You're still going to be paying me anyway, so you're not offering me anything. I was like, no, I'm not fucking coming back. Absolutely fucking not. Is this all it was? And he was like, yes. And I'm like, okay, bye. So, I mean...
Honestly, fair play to her.
Yeah.
Asking a mid-90-day non-compete is a bit shitty, isn't it? Let's be honest.
That is just mental, isn't it, to be fair? Like, literally... is still working through her notice period, and they go, do you want to just come back? Like,
can you imagine any other job doing that?
Yeah, just like
we sacked you. We want you out of the building, and it's like, but actually, do you want to just sort this for us before you go? Like, no,
exactly,
definitely don't.
Like, but to her point as well, it was like she's like, well, you're already paying me because I'm in my 90 days, so I'm not just coming back for free for no reason. Do you know what I mean? Like, what? Why would I?
Yeah.
After you've just sacked me. So, yeah, fair play to it. To be fair, but it just goes to show, doesn't it? You know, the kind of detriment of releasing most of your women's roster. The kind of impact that it can have.
The kind of impact.
But I mean, obviously, we'll talk about this when we do our Rumble segment in a minute. But you know, there was quite an eclectic mix of talent in there. Still didn't choose to bring up any NXT, which was interesting, but they did obviously call out to a lot of former talent and surprises, if you will. So weird one. I imagine they just would have had the talent available on their own rosters. I imagine.
Indeed.
But yeah.
Indeed. Crazy stuff, mate. So speaking of crazy stuff, X-Pac, Carl, you might be thinking to yourself, what has he been up to? I'll tell you. Now, obviously, joking aside, very recently we've seen him make an appearance in GCW. Apparently, this was not just a one-off. So this is just to confirm, Carl. Breaking news, not so breaking now. Sorry, we're a bit late. That he's back. Him and Joey Janela will be facing Matt Cardona and Brian Myers on the 25th of February in GCW. So he's back in ring action, which, to be honest, when he made some noise about, like, and you could see the incredible shape he got himself in.
Make some noise. X-Pac.
I didn't even realize I did that. When he made some noise about the shape he got himself into and wanting to make an in-ring return, I think even he said, but obviously the speculation started, a Rumble appearance, which would have made a ton of sense. That never came to fruition, obviously. No spoilers. But we did get another legend from the Attitude Era return. Who could it have been?
No.
It was shit, by the way. But yeah, so if you didn't get your X-Pac fix at the Royal Rumble, which we obviously didn't, you can see him in GCW in a couple of weeks' time. So get your fill there. And honestly, he's looking jacked. So let's see if he can still go in the ring.
I like that. I like that they're building on storylines with this as well. Obviously, we had the Cardona versus Janela match at the World at GCW event, and obviously X-Pac showed up after the match, and Brian Myers showed up during the match. So it's nice to see that it's not just like a one-off thrown together thing. They're actually building some storylines there. So
which is nice, yeah.
It'd be good to see him back. I think a lot of people speculated he'd be back at the Rumble, which obviously that never came to fruition. So. Let's see. I'm keen to see him back in the ring. How good he looks, and who knows? Maybe he could have another run back in the likes of WWE or something at some point. But
no.
Glad that obviously he's another one who's had his fair share of demons and issues in the past. So nice to see him in a better place and really working to get back to being in the ring. So yeah, wish him all the best. And so to wrap things up this week, Anthony, a bit of breaking news. So as reported by the guys who know it all, apparently, Ringside News, they have broken the news that Shane McMahon has reportedly been quietly let go by WWE today. Now, obviously, it was noted...
it wasn't very fucking quiet, that was it?
Well, yeah, it's certainly not quiet now. But obviously it was noted about a lot of unrest backstage at the Royal Rumble. Now, the belief was that Shane who came back for the Rumble match, worked heavily on the production of the Rumble match itself.
It was Shane's fault.
It was Shane's fault. So obviously he was lead producer, and obviously it led to a lot of kind of last minute changes and stuff like that. Obviously booking himself to be part of the final three, and reportedly he was trying to angle himself into either working with the likes of Bobby Lashley or Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Because he's Shane McMahon, he does whatever the hell he wants.
Best wrestler in the world.
Exactly. So apparently news broke today that WWE creative writers were told in a semi-quiet way that there'll be no more creative discussions about Shane McMahon. And they now have moved on to other creative discussions. So I believe the plan was to inject him into the Elimination Chamber match, and that was going to set up something with either Seth or Bobby or whichever way they were going to go with it. But yeah, whether or not it's a bit of a scapegoat thing or whatever.
The way they word it is like that they've had to go to creative and say, look, it's almost as if look, he's still in the building somewhere, right? If he approaches you, he's nothing to do with creative, okay?
Yeah, just
we can't stop him, but just don't listen to what he's saying, okay?
Just ignore him, pretend he's not there.
He's just bouncing around.
I imagine that's how he is backstage as well. He's just like
just muttering, "Here comes the money" to himself.
So
what's surprising for me, and I don't know, maybe I've just been behind the times here. I didn't even realize he was back in WWE. I thought it was a one-off appearance at the Rumble. It turns out he's been producing shit as well. I thought he was doing his own thing right now.
I think he was brought back to be in the Rumble and took it upon himself to basically be like, well, I'm producing the match.
Guys, people are going to want to see Shane O'Mac. Let's give him Shane O'Mac.
This is what's interesting about it. So there's a quote here. I'm not sure who it's from. It might be from the Ringside News article. But basically saying Vince had no choice. Shane created chaos, had everyone in an uproar, pissed off everyone in the Rumble, openly buried other producers, and was changing things that Vince wanted. Vince had no other choice but to send him home.
Shane asked if he could have another chance. And
go to your room.
Another chance of hell.
It's basically what it was. Go to your room, Shane. But yeah, I think he's. I'm keen to understand what type of contract he has, because to your point, he's not been a prominent fixture. He sold all his shares way back in 2016.
Didn't you say something about him leaving to be a drug dealer as well?
I mean, I definitely didn't say that.
I'm going to phrase it that way. I'm going to deliberately. No, didn't he invest in some cannabis companies?
Oh,
and he was concentrating on those outside businesses. I joked about the phrasing of it, but didn't you say he was involved with that?
I know he's CEO of a couple of different companies, so he's got his own business interests outside of WWE. He stole? No, that's a Freudian slip. He sold all of his stock back in 2016, so obviously he's cashed out there. So he legitimately, other than the fact the last name does say McMahon, other than that, he's got no ties to the company, really.
It's all of his stock, yeah?
Yeah.
That's madness, man.
So I'm keen to understand what type of contract he's under. Was he under a talent contract? Was he under is he even under a contract? Is he just being told, okay, stop hanging around here now, Shane, go and get a real job, kind of thing? Who knows? Is he going to rock up tonight on Dynamite?
Who knows?
The name on the contract does say Khan, but it's Tony Khan. No. So yeah, you never know.
Crazy. You know what? That's the worst thing you could do. I would have to join all these people who hate AEW if Shane rocks up there. I know it'll never happen, but if he rocks up there and he's like, "Yeah, you got the best in the world here," I'll be like, for fuck's, no, I'm switching off. I'm done. Going home.
Yeah, I can't see it happening.
I'd have to be with all the man. I'd have to be like, yeah, AEW do sign every WWE reject. They're totally fucking right about this. That's where I'd be if they signed Shane.
I mean, to be fair, it would draw a hell of a lot of eyeballs to the show. So from a business standpoint, you would definitely sign Shane McMahon. You definitely wouldn't book him as best in the world. I saw something before. I think it was on Reddit, and apologies, I can't credit the person who said it, but
the person who said it from Reddit.
Reddit, the person who said it from Reddit. Don't sweat it. But he basically said, I can just see him now rocking up in AEW and making Anthony a go-go fucking sell his sell his punches as like legit, like fucking silver medalist boxer. But yeah, I can't imagine that happening. But interesting one, obviously, for Vince to basically just be like, yeah, you're done, kind of thing, because it's so weird, and it's a scary time for WWE if their plan was to bring back Shane McMahon and have him face off at WrestleMania with either Seth Rollins or Bobby Lashley.
Both of those names are too big. That's weird. That.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this is a guy who faced Undertaker, Kevin Owens.
He faced Undertaker at a point though when it's like Undertaker isn't part of the main cat. Like both Seth and Bobby are probably going to be involved in the main event scene in some capacity.
Well,
that's the worrying bit, because is Shane putting himself in the main event scene? Really?
Maybe that was the plan all along. He really
he's going to be in the elimination chamber, for fuck's sake.
Well, exactly. But yeah, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
If I want to jump off things, Dad, then we'll go and do it at home.
And anybody who listens to this knows I'm not the biggest fan of the world of Shawn Michaels, but I did love the skit between Triple H and Shawn when they were being Vince and Shane.
Yes,
some quality work.
Again,
from Shawn there.
We all know how you feel about Shawn, but he has done some good comedy stuff, and I don't know if that's when he's paired up with Hunter. They both do well together, but like even the I Just Kick Stan is fantastic as well. There are some fantastic moments from them, but he's a cunt.
He is. Here's what it is. But yeah, interesting to see how this develops. Then obviously, report until PW Insider comes out and goes, well, actually, Ringside News are wrong. Our sources tell us that he's still there.
Shane fired Vince.
But yeah, it's so funny, all these in the nose, fucking everybody's trying to... It doesn't matter if you're right, you've just got to be first, right? Someone fucking hears something somewhere, and it's like, we'll put it out! And then hopefully the shit will stick sometimes. Like,
I love it. You throw enough shit, some of it will stick.
Well, exactly. Even a broken clock's right twice a day, innit? So...
That's true.
That's...
I like that phrase.
That's where we are right now. So... Where is the money? Who knows? Not with WWE apparently anymore. So, yeah, that was the Ringside Report. Anthony, only 9 news things this week, but some chunky ones there, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot happening, but of the things that did, boy, were they chunky. So, yeah. So, if you haven't already, check out, obviously, This Week in Wrestling. We give our thoughts on the lead up to Royal Rumble. We're also going to be talking about the results of the Royal Rumble, and it doesn't bode... well for your earbuds, I would say, because we're going to be going off, I think, on that one.
We're ranting.
We're ranting and raving. But yeah, so until next time, make sure you check us out on YouTube. If you're listening to this, check us out on all the audio platforms. If you're watching this, if you're driving in the car,
don't forget,
whatever.
Go fund Bret. We want that to happen.
Yeah, go fund yourself, Bret. But no, obviously, huge fan, massive Bret the Hitman Hart mark. So yeah, go fund him. Get some cool shit as well. Obviously, that's the cool thing with crowdfunded is you get rewards as well. So do you want to be an executive producer of a Bret Hart movie? That's something you've dreamt of your whole life, innit? Go and drop, 50p or 4,000 Canadian dollars. And you
the
can have
credits are that important that you too can be an executive producer.
Exactly. So yeah, so until next time, we will bid you farewell, and here is the one and only Georgia Smith to say goodbye.
Hey guys, it's Georgia Smith here, and you've heard me on A2theK. These guys are awesome. Check it out. A2theK.
A2theK.